Hey, welcome to another episode of Your Faith and Health Community. I'm your host, Pastor Jackie Jackson, and as always, on behalf of myself and our producer, Anita Alexander, we want to thank you very much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. Now, before we jump into this show, and we have a very good show ahead, I want to just make sure I hit my normal point about health care. If you have not enrolled for health insurance, you need to get it done. Even though we know the administration is doing away with the penalty, don't let the lack of a penalty keep you from getting the health care that you need. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your family. Since I've said a number of times, one emergency room visit and definitely a hospital stay could send you into bankruptcy. And it may sound crazy, you may think that's ridiculous, but depending on your financial situation, it could really hurt you. Now, remember, open enrollment has ended for this year, well, for this open enrollment period. It'll start again in November. So you will have maybe 45 days, maybe 60, we don't know yet. But if you didn't make open enrollment this past open enrollment period, and you recently lost your job, started a new job, had a baby, you've gotten married, you recently moved into the state of Ohio, or you recently have been released from a correctional institution, that will make you eligible for what's called a life-changing event, and you can still enroll in health care. Now, if you're single and your income is below $16,243 a year, that makes you eligible for Medicaid. And if you're a family of four and your income is $44,500, I believe, and $58 or below, that would make your family of four eligible for Medicaid. So my point is, there's no reason for anyone to go without health care. Now, the last thing I want to speak to is the invincibles. 18 through 34, you figure, I'm not going to get sick, I'm not going to get hurt, I don't need health care. Well, if you play basketball or whatever else you're doing, just imagine you're out on the court, you go up for a layup, you come down wrong, and you break your ankle. When you go to the hospital, that's going to hit your pocket. So come on, let's get enrolled. Let's make sure everyone in our community has health care. We stay healthy, keep our faith going, right? So let me jump into this now. I want to welcome our two guests. First I'm going to introduce Helen Robinson, who is the president of Cincinnati Realtors Association. She's a licensed real estate agent with Key Realties. And we want to introduce David Beard, that's with DGB Property and Real Property Appraisal. I see here saying number one LLC. So I want to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Pretty good, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to jump right into the first question and get going. And what is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers? Because I'm assuming you both are brokers.
I'm a broker.
You're a broker.
And the National Association of Real Estate Brokers is the nation's largest minority trade association, largest and oldest. And it represents individuals in the real estate industry and all facets of real estate.
Okay, so then, Helen, you're a real estate agent.
I'm an agent, and I'm the president of the local chapter of NARAB, and our name is the Cincinnati Realtors Association. Okay.
So then, I've just been educated.
Yes.
There's a difference between a broker and an agent.
Yes.
So since you're speaking, explain the difference from your standpoint.
Well, according to state licensing law, you're either an agent or you're a broker. And for both occupations, you have to sit for a test. I have not pursued the broker's license, so I have to work under a broker. My license is held by a broker.
Okay.
A broker can recruit agents to come and work through his company. So that's the difference.
Okay. And so you're the broker, and so you have agents working under you?
I have at one point in time in the past. Presently, I work alone. And again, I'm a real estate broker and a real estate licensed appraiser, both.
Okay.
Right.
So let me ask this question. Can I purchase a house from both?
You can.
Can.
Okay.
The difference another difference between an agent and a broker is an agent has to split the commission that they make with their broker. However, if you're a broker like myself, you don't have to split or share your commission with anyone.
Oh, okay. So if I thought about going into real estate, then I should go for the broker.
It all depends on your choice. A broker has more responsibility than an agent has. A broker has more fees associated with being a broker as opposed to being an agent. It depends on, again, whether or not you prefer to operate as a sole entrepreneur without management above you, or you want to be an agent and have the support of a management team, i.e. a broker and office manager, etc.
Okay. So whom much is given, much is required.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay. So in terms of being an agent, what is that like? What is it like to say? I mean, I know people, obviously, Anita, and I know some other real estate agents, but what is that like? What's that world like? Excuse me.
Well, as an agent, you are an independent contractor. We do set our own hours, and of course, everybody is looking for that client who either wants to buy or sell real estate. And pretty much that's how we do. We market ourselves, we market our listings, and we get the job done.
Okay.
So
So if you're looking for a house, you can call a home, commercial property as well, I would assume?
Any property. When you're licensed in the state of Ohio to sell real estate, you can sell not only houses, but you can sell commercial property, you can sell funeral partials or plots. You're licensed to sell anything in real estate.
Okay, that one I did not know. I did not know that through real estate you could purchase a plot.
That's correct. You can.
Okay, well, I got a little bit of education there. I want to go to the next question.
okay.
This is the 50th anniversary of fair housing. And the real estate industry changed any from 50 years ago? And without getting too deep, we know that there are some situations going on within our country right now around fair housing.
Right. Yeah, it was back in 1968 that the Fair Housing Act was signed, and that kind of guarantees fair and equal housing to anybody who's willing and able to buy. As you said, there are still some issues around fair housing. You know, it's true, it's unfortunate, but it's true. And we do have to look out for redlining or steering, those words. They're not spoken freely these days, but, you know,
So
it may
redlining is still a factor.
It can be, yes.
Would you say in this city, in our city, redlining still being an issue?
I would say not nearly as much as it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. The primary determining factor today that determines whether or not a person can buy a piece of property in a given area not is if they have the resources and the credit.
Right.
If they do, they're pretty much, the redlining aspect of it is a thing of the past.
Well, let me throw this lob ball out here, and either one of you feel free to explain what redlining is.
Redlining was a basic agreement within an industry in real estate amongst real estate agents and brokers that they would only sell property to a specific group of people in a certain area and not in other areas. So for if you were black, you would be shown properties in predominantly black areas of town. If you were Jewish, you would be primarily shown properties in a Jewish area of town, and vice versa. So it was steering, it was directing people away from other properties that they were qualified to buy.
Hence the reason for the signing of that act in 1968. So now, as long as your income supports your purchase, you can go to any neighborhood that you want to live in.
And there's another aspect regarding this. It was actually legal in a lot of cases for an individual who was selling property to say, I don't want to sell to black people, I don't want to sell to Indians, and it was known as a deed restriction.
Right.
And a deed restriction was upheld by law. Those nowadays are no longer legal.
No
Right.
longer legal, but sometimes, I guess, could still be present if able to get away with.
Well,
No.
if you research deeds, you'll see the language may still be in existence from a deed from several years ago. It's just no longer legally applied.
Right.
So, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe just about probably a week or two ago, I was reading something about the development of Lincoln Heights. And part of the reasoning why, and you may not know about this or not, the reason why that development took place was because of redlining. And even after they got in, once the Lincoln Heights area was developed and people were living there, when they wanted to expand some things, something about an aviation plant that was within that area, and they were trying to, I guess, incorporate the city. And they were kind of hit with some restrictions. Maybe that's has nothing to do with real estate.
It involves real estate, but it's beyond our research for today's project.
I
Let's say it like that.
Just thought I'd throw that out there and see.
Yeah.
I wanted to sound like I knew something, so we can move on. All right, here's a question. You have a week of events coming up. I guess sometime soon here. I think it's in the month of April is the Realtors Week.
Yes.
And what is the Realtors Week?
The Realtors Week is a week of recognition of service to the community, education to the community. So, and actually we start on a Sunday by worshiping together as the Realtors. We go to one of our members' church and we worship.
And that's Corinthian, I think, this year.
This
right?
year it's going to be Corinthian. And then during the week, we'll have a community project. We'll work with a social service agency to help beautify a house. This year our project will be to build a fence. We will also have some of the men in our organization visit a halfway house for young men to talk to them about staying on a positive track with their lives. We will also have a home buying seminar or wealth building seminar on Saturday, April the 21st, where the community can come and find out about the home buying process, how to qualify for a loan, how to help fix your credit if that's an issue for you. So, like I said, we have a week, each day we have a different activity that we're performing a service to the community, giving out information, and helping people to realize their ability to buy a house or even to keep the house that they're in, because we do still have foreclosures happening, so we may be able to help somebody retain their residence.
Are these events open to the public for free, or are there admissions? Or
all of the events are free to the public, and we've done some advertising. I think we have an ad in the Herald. We passed out some flyers regarding the activities and things like that. So, and then that's one of the reasons with being on this program today. Maybe it will air before our Realtors Week.
Another point on Realtors Week we need to be aware of. This is a national organization. So this week is being recognized throughout the country in every city in which we have a chapter.
Right.
okay, all right. So this isn't just a local event.
No, it's a
No.
And
national.
they're all happening
At the same time.
Yes.
simultaneously. Okay, yeah, that is important to know. So if you're watching and you have family in DC or you have family in Atlanta, Chicago, and maybe they know about it, maybe they don't, give them a call. Say, hey, listen, there's something coming up, and especially if you know someone, a young family or a single person that's getting ready to maybe purchase their first home, looking to buy their second home, or as Miss Johnson said, Miss Robinson said, that even if you're already in your house, there's some information that would be helpful for you. And definitely when you're looking at a potential foreclosure, that can be very stressful. So come out to the week, get some information. I believe the scripture said, my people perish for lack of information. And so we're going to apply that information to real estate, to your home, making sure that the American dream continues to live on. I want to go to this question, and again, either one can answer. What advice do you have for potential home buyers?
I would give just a few points of advice. And the first one is you need to truly be committed that this is something that you want to do, because there are a lot of things that come along with owning a house that you don't have to deal with as a renter. You're going to have to maintain that property. You're going to have to cut the grass. You're going to have utility bills that you might not have to pay where you're living at currently. So you need to get your finances in order. You want to get your debt as low as possible and build your savings up as high as you possibly can. Right. And above all else, pay your bills on time, because your credit will be checked several times throughout the process.
Right.
Anything
right. And sometimes people think, oh, I want to buy my dream home. But your dream home is based on your current financial standing. So nobody will be able to buy a house 2 or 3 levels above their means. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. And then a good realtor will not take you into a house that you have not been pre-approved for.
Okay, so basically it's good to get someone who knows the business, who knows what they're doing, who knows the process to work with. You know, I drive around and I see homes sometimes, or signs for sale by the owner or something along those lines. And I've wondered, like, okay, so is it better to maybe call up the owner and try to work out something? Then I go in blind because I don't know real estate. I don't know the business, you know, and it's nothing to say that they know the business either. You know, they're selling their home. Maybe they do. Maybe they've done a little research. Mm-hmm. But even if I sit down and read a book, it's not as well as someone who spent years, amount of time seeing all the different contingencies that can happen. So what would be your advice for someone that says, you know, I'm just going to try to buy this home from the guy down the street. He seems like a nice guy.
Well, that can be a mistake on so many different levels. It's hard to even list them all. First of all, that seller is motivated to unload the house for whatever reason. And there may be problems with that house that you're not aware of, that you can't visibly see. As a professional in the business, we are required to have disclosures revealed to potential buyers. And that seller, in working with us, is required to disclose, let's, for example, do you have leaks in your house? Do you have radon gas in your house? Mm-hmm. Well, if that seller is operating without that professional, he doesn't have to disclose all of those things.
So unless you have a realtor or a broker, then if I'm selling my house, I'm under no obligation by law to disclose any issues, any problems within that structure?
A prudent person would operate honestly, because the buyer may have cause to come back to you. So if you deliberately withhold some information, you know, you may end up in a lawsuit, and most people don't want to do that because that can be financially draining to most people. So what I would suggest to anybody looking to buy a house is that you call a realtist and work with the realtist to get the house. So
most realtors also have been in the business and been through a number of houses, mm-hmm. and can recognize things that a new buyer might not necessarily recognize as being a potential problem.
Right.
And for that reason, we're not going to act as a whole house inspector, but we would certainly recommend that you get one
Right.
so that you're aware of the condition of the property, what may or might not be a potential problem.
Right.
Okay.
That seller might not do that, that homeowner.
Right.
Okay. And so, and I guess again, it's important to understand that, as you said, if they're prudent, if they're on the up and up, they'll give you that information. If not, then it's, I guess, buyer beware when you kind of walk in the door.
Well, actually, nobody should be willing to buy something on a buyer beware circumstance. You know, if I'm selling something to you, I need to let you know what's going on with it. And of course, I want to get the highest and best price. So then I, as the seller, should have taken some responsibility to make sure that you're at least getting close to what you think you're paying for. And then the buyer has the responsibility too. And I tell buyers, don't look at all the pretty. Sometimes you have to look behind things to see the house. Don't look at the new paint. Oh, they have flowers there. That's not what you're buying. You're buying the entire structure and the nuts and bolts of the house. That's what you need to be looking for. Hence, that's why we encourage people to get a whole house inspection, because that's, you know, you're buying the whole house, not just the pretty.
Well, I want to do this, and because we only have a couple minutes left, I want to ask this question, and it's out there, that what is the 2 and 5 campaign?
It's the goal of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers nationwide to sell have at least 5 million,
Nope.
2 million new homeowners within the next 5-year period.
Right.
So throughout the country, this is a goal that we've established, and each local board will be reporting their results into our national, so we can keep a tally as to how we're progressing.
Right.
Okay, so 2 million new homeowners in 5 years.
In 5 years.
Yeah.
So listen.
Let me further clarify that. That's 2 million minority homeowners in 5 years. Because for most people, the home is the largest expense that they have, and that's your legacy. And we're creating wealth through home ownership by doing that.
Okay, so to create 2 million minority homeowners in the next 5 years. Listen, if you're watching and you have not bought your home yet, let's try to get you in that 2 million. In fact, see if we can make it 3 million minority homeowners in the next 5 years. I'm not changing what their setup is. I'm just speaking faith to say let's make it 3 million. They have a goal of 2, let's make it 3 million. Let's just blow it out the box. Listen, I want to thank you for taking time. But in closing, I want to say you got some very good information here. Some information that's important for your buying power. That's information that's important for making sure that you get the best bang for your buck. Get with a realtor, get with a broker, get with someone that knows. You would never go to the grocery store if you need a gallbladder operation. And I don't think you go to the hospital if you need a loaf of bread. So if you're looking to buy a home, if you're looking to buy commercial, if you're looking to buy a graveyard plot,
Call a realtist.
call a realtist. Get in touch with the professionals that can help. Listen, we want to thank you again for taking time out. We want to thank David Beard, and we want to thank Helen Robinson for taking time to spend with us and giving us information. And as I always want to tell you, stay faithful, stay healthy. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.